In this episode, we're going to review our dream build of our SEGA Dreamcast. SEGA! All right, you guys, let's take a little closer look at our Dreamcast dream build. Now, this particular console, I really wanted to spend some time putting our own touch, if you will, on it of what we wanted. And if you're familiar with the Dreamcast, there was a version that was black, but it was for the sports edition, and it's got this big sticker on there. I don't think it looks that great. I think the Sega consoles look better in black. You know, some of them, there was a gray version of the Saturn and whatnot, but I think they really look nice in black. And that's why I decided to go with the black shell for this one. But we'll kind of take a step back and explain what all we've done here. So about a year ago, we decided we wanted to do this YouTube channel. And as part of that, we wanted to be able to do our SEGA Dreamcast. And we never had one. And honestly, growing up, I never had a Dreamcast. And the only exposure I had to one of these was a friend of mine had one of these for the game, and they had the game Crazy Taxi. And, you know, at the time, I thought it was a pretty cool game, but I was, at the same time, very obsessed with my Nintendo 64, and I really didn't give this thing a chance. Didn't have one, nor was I really around it. So I knew I wanted to purchase one of these, and for us to be able to play the games together and to really have that first experience together that I never got to have, and obviously my kids haven't played it yet either. So having stated that, I did some research on these, and one of the common failure points on these, as well as other CD drive games from the past, or consoles from the past, is the drive itself. And I thought, well, you know, I could possibly look for one, and if it's not working right, we could fix it, or we could just purchase one, and if it's working, we could use it. But I also got to looking into it from the standpoint of, there's a lot of games that came out for this. Some of them were Japanese, some US, some released in both countries, but at the same time, some of these games are very expensive because they were limited releases or what have you. You don't see them. And also keep in mind that on these CD-based consoles, you have to really take care of CDs. And if you go back to when these came out, you know, kids were handling these and they would get all scratched up from just throwing them around. So not only is it necessarily really easy to find some of the games that came out for these, but finding them in good condition is a whole other story. So we decided to go a different route. I looked around and I found that there's a company called Terra that makes what they call the Mode, which is a replacement for the original disk drive. And when I say replacement, you're going to get rid of the disk drive and you're going to plug that into the main board and mount it to that, and then you will insert a SD card with ROMs, and then you can play those games like that. Now, this is a touchy subject with some people, and what I'd like to address a couple points, at least my opinion on this, and why we chose to do that. So just for right now, just take into consideration that we decided to purchase the Terra Mode, install it in here, and go that route. Now, if we look on the outside here, we've got this black housing that I mentioned a minute ago. Whenever I was looking for the Terra Mode and what we were going to do here, we found a company in Ohio called Stone Age Gamer. Stone Age Gamer sells these shells as well as the Terra Mode. So I ended up purchasing both of those items from them. And since I had no previous experience doing either of those, I ended up having to reach out to them numerous times for help. And they have great customer service. They walked me through a couple steps. And even though there's, you know, a manual for the mode and how to do it, I did run into a couple issues, but they helped me figure it out, and there was no issues. So if you're going to go down a similar path, You can go directly to Terra Onion if you wish, but what I would recommend would be buying it from Stone Age Gamer. Because if you have an issue whatsoever, you can call them and they will answer and they will help you. Terra Onion, although it is a good product and you can buy from them directly, they're not stateside, they're on the other side of the world, and it's not always easy to just reach out to them and get a hold of them. You can send them an email and whatnot, and they will respond, but from my personal experience, I preferred purchasing these from Stone Age Gamer. Now, I did purchase another one for our Saturn, and we did this first, and unfortunately when we did this build, we didn't get it on camera to show you guys, but when we did this one first, I really liked the experience with Stone Age Gamer. The other one I bought from Terra Onion Mode just because that was kind of towards the end of the pandemic and you weren't able to get the mode. It had very limited quantities. And Stone Age Gamer, since they do builds for consoles, they were keeping the ones they had for their builds. So that's why I ended up on the Saturn going with directly with Terra Onion. But anyhow, Stone Age Gamer did a great job on that. I got the case from them in black, and they also added the Dreamcast logo, and I got the mode from them. Now we'll take a look around this console a little bit. You notice it looks very nice. The quality is on par with the original. Everything fit as it should. And then one other thing I want to bring up here about this is, if you notice, we've got our sticker on the back. So I purchased our Dreamcast from shopgoodwill.com. It was not working correctly. I gave $20 for it from the auction, and all I got was the console. No cables, no anything. And that's why I bought that one, because I already knew that I wanted to change out the shell. I wanted to put the Terra Onion mode in it and do different things. So that's why I bought that one for $20. And the shell was super yellow. It was kind of a mess, but anyways, I already knew that I wanted to go down this road. So having said that, this is the sticker from that Dreamcast that matches the motherboard and everything else. What I did to get it onto this shell was I took the measurements from the old Dreamcast that I purchased, and I put blue painter's tape where this should be on the back. I then took a heating gun and just very lightly heated up the original sticker here, and I peeled it off, and then I placed this right down in between those painter tapes marks that I had on here. And then it turned out great. I mean, it looks like the original one did on the other console. So now we've got all of our numbers and everything that match the hardware inside. And I just thought that was kind of a neat touch to be able to put on this to make it kind of like the original. So just an idea, if you ever want to do something similar, that's how you can do that. So now we'll look on the inside of this, and I'll show you guys exactly what we've done. I've got the screws removed so that I can take the top off. And I guess before we get in there too, I'll show you this. So if you notice how it looks, it's got a very clean look inside, and that's because of this. I purchased this from Laser Bear Industries, and this is an SD mount that they make specifically for the Terra Onion mode. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to reset the drive, and it allows you to just insert a SD card directly into the top, and it takes up all this dead space. Otherwise, when you open this up, you're just going to have a hole here. It doesn't look very good. This wasn't very expensive. I think it was like $20-something or maybe $30. You have to check, and I'll put a link in the description for everything that we've got here. But definitely for the price, it was great. Everything mounted up as it should, and it just gives it that really nice OEM look whenever you open it up to see that. So this is the rest of the shell. Again, looks very nice. Now we're inside. So the other things that we wanted to do to this is we upgraded our fan to a Noctua fan, and we purchased that fan and the mounting kit from Laser Bear as well. So these, again, not very expensive upgrades that you can have for these to make the cooling a little better. And they make this nice little mounting hardware here that you can just screw into the console as original, but it also adapts over to be able to mount to the fan. So this kit we purchased from Laser Bear as well. And then right here below is the mode. Now you see how it mounts in just as it should. It looks like an original piece of equipment in here. And then the other modification that we made to this console was right here in the front with the removable battery. Now these came originally with a battery that was soldered to these metal plugs, the metal pins, sorry, that went through. And so we desoldered it, put in this little mounting bracket here and soldered it in. And then you can just put in the battery, remove it as needed. So if you're familiar, the Saturn originally came out with a battery like this, but the Dreamcast didn't. On the Dreamcast, once the battery was dead, you're done. You have to desolder it and go through what I did. But instead of just putting the same type of battery back in, I thought it would be a good idea to put this replacement battery kit in here. Now, I believe I purchased this from Amazon, but I do know that you can get them off Amazon, eBay, different places, and I'll put a link to that. So overall with this, the console itself, this particular build, we installed the mode, we installed the Noctua fan and the mounting kit for the Noctua fan, the replacement battery, and we also installed this Laser Bear Industries SD mounting kit. All right, you guys, so another thing I'd like to talk about here that we ended up purchasing for our Dreamcast are these controllers. We bought 2 of them. These are from Retro Fighters. It is a wired controller. We also got these from Stone Age Gamer whenever we purchased the other items for the Dreamcast. You can get these at retro game stores. I think you can also get them on Amazon, what have you. But anyways, the controller itself's all right. It does have the ports for the Rumble Pack and the VMU here, so that's fine. Everything works as it should, but I have a couple complaints about the controller. The triggers are kind of spongy feeling. Don't really feel real great. The joystick's got a little bit of play in it. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's just got this like a wobble to it, and even whenever you pull it and it bounces back, it just feels kind of cheap. The buttons aren't too bad, but the controller itself, the plastic shell, is very thin, very lightweight, and it's not like that big of a deal, but it is that big of a deal because you know, I don't know how much it costs them to do their development and everything on these, but honestly, the people that are going to buy these are going to be enthusiasts, collectors, retro gamers, YouTubers, people that would pay another $15 to $20 for a better quality product that really feels like an OEM style controller straight from Sega or Nintendo or what have you. Now, when you hold it though, it does fit very well in your hands. The positioning of the buttons, the joystick and everything is very well laid out. So all that's great. The problem is that it just, again, it just feels real cheap made. And it's not a cheap controller. Now, it does work fine. All the buttons and everything work. I just think that they could have did a little bit better job on the shell itself and the buttons and joystick. So having said that, I think, you know, in the future, if somebody would make a version of this, what I would like to see is a wireless controller that has integrated rumble inside of the controller like modern Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation controllers, and then with your slot here for the VMU. And I think that would be the ultimate style controller like this. I don't know if we'll ever get that. I hope so. There is a controller that's wireless overseas that you can get, but it costs a lot of money. It's like $200, I think, for one controller, and I don't know how many people's going to do that. But hopefully, you know, we can get somebody like 8-Bit Doe or Retro Fighter or somebody like that on board that can make a wireless controller that's got the integrated rumble and everything, and it'd be a little better. And if they had the integrated rumble inside too, it would make the controller a little heavier and feel a little better. But this is an original VMU that came with the Dreamcast. We had purchased this. I got it black because it looks pretty good like the others to match the black controller. And in this here, we purchased is the Rumble Pack Innovation. You can get these online. It kind of matches the VMU and the black controller. So it looks pretty good when it's all together. That's why we went with this. All right, guys, so the last thing I want to talk about here is this audio video cable from Hyperkin. It takes your audio out from the Dreamcast and turns it into HDMI for modern TVs. I think this is a great product. Not only does it work well, but you do not need an external power supply for this. So a lot of these you'll need it's like a USB style, kind of like a cell phone power cable that would run into the wall to power this. And in this you don't. You just need the cable itself. It wasn't too expensive. I'll put a link to it in the description, but I highly recommend getting these. If you want to do game captures, it's very simple through Elgato or whatever you're using, just running this HDMI to it. So I think this is a very nice item. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to show you guys some gameplay of the mode inside of this and just show you guys how it works, and then we'll wrap things up. All right, so you see what all we've put into our Dreamcast Dream build. Now I'm going to show you guys what the user interface looks like on the Terra Onion mode. Right now you're just looking at our standard Elgato screen because I haven't actually turned on the system yet. I want you to see it from the startup. This is taking into consideration we are using the Hyperkin cable that's an HDMI out of the Dreamcast into our Elgato HD60X that we're using for game capture. I used to have the HD60S, well I still have it, but we were using that and running into some issues for some different consoles, so decided to upgrade to this X. I haven't had any issues since. So anyhow, I'm going to turn the button on here in a minute and you'll see the opening screen just like it normally would be on the Dreamcast. Also, another thing to note, if you have a VMU in your controller, upon startup of the Dreamcast, you will see an image of Terra Onion mode go across the screen on your controller. I think that's a pretty neat little added item that they've put into this whole thing. So here we go. All right, so you guys seen that it booted up just like a normal Dreamcast would. You had the Dreamcast logo, then it went into Sega, and now we're into the mode user interface. Now, I just put 2 games on here to show you what it looks like, but if you see right now we've got a list of games. On the top, we've got different options, enter, back, A, B, and then we've got X and Y for options and device. If we go into options, you can click on game list mode, and to activate or deactivate any of these, you're going to use your D-pad and hit left or right. So right now we see that that's list. So I'm just going to hit right to turn it on covers. Now there's other things here you can do, region patches and things, and basically that's for games that may have been made in or released in one country and not the other, for you to be able to play them in whatever region you have. So anyhow, that's all we're going to do. We're going to drop out of this and we're going to see what happens here. Boom. Now you notice it's actually uploaded the cover art from the games themselves. Now to do this, whenever you purchase the Terra Onion, they've got this manual that goes with it. You can download it online and it will show you how to do this. There's a file that you can download, and after you download it, you put that file into the file where you've got all your games. So your SD card will be laid out. You'll have some like firmware files, and then you'll have a folder titled Dreamcast, and within that Dreamcast folder is where you're going to put all your games, and inside that Dreamcast folder as well is where you're going to put this file that you can download for it to automatically upload this artwork. You do not have to download the individual artwork and this stuff. You just download that file from them and you put it in there. I thought that was a pretty neat touch that they went through to do this. Just to show you guys, you know, what all they've did for this mode program here. So also another thing to note, I ran into a couple of hiccups on this initially because, you know, the first thing I did was I went out and I bought this big SD card with, I think it was a SanDisk 500 gigabyte HD XD Super Saiyan to the 3rd power, whatever it was. But anyways, the problem is on these new SD cards, they run faster than the operating system inside the Dreamcast. Same thing if you're going to get one of these for the Saturn, PlayStation, whatever. You need to get just a basic like Kingsport SD card. And if you can get to standard size, I would do that instead of the micro SD. But get whatever size you need. Just get the standard one. Don't get the ultra fast one and all that, because it's not going to read it correctly, and you're just going to get real frustrated and wonder what's going on. When in reality, it's just that that type of SD card is not compatible with the mode. So take that into consideration whenever you're doing this. So let's go. We'll go into one of these games and check it out here. Sonic Adventure. So again, we've got the Sega screen, and everything's booting up just like it would have if we had the original game inserted into the Dreamcast. All right, we're going to skip through that. So anyhow, I just wanted to show you guys that whenever you go into this, wow, that's loud. Select a memory card. All right, hold on. So we just, we're going to exit out of that and go back. That way we don't have all this noise going on. Okay, so anyhow, all I did was I hit the reset button on the Laser Bear SD adapter, and it takes us back to the menu screen of this the Dreamcast, where you can change different things. So just to get us out of the craziness of the Sonic game, but just to show you guys, I mean, everything's going to load up just like it would have originally. It's not like it's some kind of a weird interface or where you got to do a lot of stuff. This is really simple. And again, whenever you want to do this, just make sure you download the firmware and everything. Whenever you get the Terra Onion mode in the mail, there's on the box itself, don't throw that stuff away. There's going to be a serial number on there, and you go to Mode's website, you enter in the serial number, you'll create a user login, and whenever you do that, it will allow you to download the firmware for that specific mode. It's very important that you do that, or else you're not going to be able to use this. But as well, on that same area, you'll have downloads for your mode where you can get the operating manual and everything else that you need to play this. So I just thought it'd be a good idea to show you guys exactly what this looked like. We're very happy with it. Haven't had any issues. Make sure that, again, if you're going to do this, the trick here is with that SD card. I would have never thought about it, but after I'd installed it, it gave me a little bit of a headache. I contacted Stone Age Gamer. They were very helpful, and then they kind of went through what problems I was having, and they had told me about this SD card. I would have never even thought of that being an issue, but I guess it makes sense. So I went and I purchased one off of Amazon that was just a standard SD card, and everything works perfectly. All right, you guys, so there you have it. You've seen what we did to create our Dreamcast Dream build. There's a lot of speculation on, should you go with ROMs of games or the original discs? I really think it depends on what you're trying to achieve. In our personal case, we didn't have the games, nor did we have the financing to buy all the games to try and test them out. So we purchased a Dreamcast that was damaged that we could repair, and then whenever we were repairing it, we decided to replace the disk drive that didn't work anyways with the Terra Onion mode. I think there's a couple ways to look at this. I think there's, if you've got an original Dreamcast that no longer has a working drive in it, well, possibly you could do the same thing. Or let's say you're a collector and you don't want to damage or use the nice Dreamcast that you have. Well, you could possibly buy one like we did and do some modifications so you can play those games. Because again, the original games are CD-based games, and you have to be very careful with what you're doing with those CDs. Otherwise, you'll scratch them up, and then you have to try to fix them, and it's a pain. So, in my personal opinion, I think it just matters of what works best for you. In our case, it made the most sense to purchase a Dreamcast that had the disk drive not working, replace it with the Terra Onion mode, and then fix the battery and fan to make it the best working Dreamcast that we thought it could be. If this was helpful in any way, please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.